Hi friends, I'm Tim Scora and I welcome you to this 8th in the Embracing series. I'm here in New York City actually at Trinity Episcopal Church, and I'm here with a group of friends. We're just getting to know one another, and we're here for this 8th in the Embracing series, focusing on the teaching of Barbara Cawthorne and on the theme of forgiveness. We come to Barbara and to this, her first presentation, which is titled 70 times 7, really? And so Barbara, over to you.
Thank you. So nice to be with all of you. I didn't know who was going to come to this. I know, people could sign up, and I was just so glad when I heard who it was. So 70 times 7, which comes from, you remember that Peter who sort of specialized in saying dumb things to Jesus, so that Jesus could correct him, I guess. As far as the gospel writers were concerned, Peter's the kind of straight man to Jesus. And this time, he wants to know, how many times must I forgive my brother if he offends me? 7, he hopes. But no, it's not 7, it's 70 times 7, which is 490. Which is, I think, bad news for Peter and bad news, unwelcome news for us, because I don't know that we could do 7. I think we have a hard time sometimes with 1, forgiving 1 time. Talking about forgiveness is probably the retreat topic that people most want me to talk about, and I assume that that's because they are like Peter. He asked Jesus that because he must have been having some issue about forgiveness, and everybody has something about that. There's somebody who did something terrible that you can't get past, or maybe you did something that you can't forgive yourself for, or someone else can't forgive you. So it's I think a kind of a universal problem. So let's think about what Jesus says. He has this huge job for us of forgiveness, and we, knowing ourselves, know that we can't really do it, can't live up to it. So then what do we think? Well, if I can't forgive 70 times 7, 490 times, I guess I just can't be a good Christian. I guess I'm just not the right kind of person. And it feels to us like a ticket to Jesus' love that we can't afford. Oh, if I have to be forgiving, then I guess I can't come to the party. And the Lord's Prayer kind of reads that way to us. It says, forgive us our sins as we forgive those who sin against us. And it sounds to us as if we're being ordered to forgive. You march right in there and don't you come out until you have forgiven him. Is that really what the Lord's Prayer is saying? Is that really what Jesus is saying? Is he saying there's this huge job that you have to do, this job that you actually are not equipped to do, and I'm going to demand it of you, and if you cannot do it, well, you can't be my friend. And I just don't think that that's what we're talking about. I think that if we could back up from the idea that forgiveness is a job that Jesus wants to do and wants us to do, if we could back up from the idea that forgiveness is a job that Jesus wants us to do, and instead look at it the way we look at other spiritual gifts, which is that they're gifts, they're not jobs. All of them are. Prayer, it's a gift. It's not a job. Prayer is not a thing you do so you can get on Jesus' good side. It's a gift from God to you to enable you to do what God wants very much, which is to connect with you, to stay with you, to have you stay and have you live in love close with God. That is God's desire for us. It is why God made us, and it's why we're here. So all of the things that God does with us are purposed to bring us closer, not to drive us away. Why would God say, let me just give them an impossible task that they won't be able to do, and then they won't be able to come to me? That would only be if God didn't want us to come to you, but God does want that. God does not want any of us to stay away. And so this idea of forgiving as we have been forgiven, maybe what it's saying is, if you forgive, you will know what it is to be forgiven. And if you don't, you won't be able to accept this gift. It's not that I won't give it to you. I'm giving it to you all the time. It's that you won't be able to accept it. It's like if somebody, say, gave you a ticket to Hawaii. Here's the ticket. Go and have a wonderful time. And you said, no, I won't go to Hawaii. I will stay in New Jersey. And no, go to Hawaii. It's nice. It's cold out there right now. You go to Hawaii where the sun is shining and the water is beautiful and it's lovely. And here's the ticket. Take the ticket and go. I think I'd better stay. You can't go to Hawaii if you won't take the ticket. There's only one way to go. And I think that's what it is. It isn't, I don't want you to go to Hawaii. It's that you won't go. I'd love you to go. Please go. So I will forgive you, but you can't experience my forgiveness if you won't acknowledge a need for it. If you don't think you did anything wrong, you're not going to want forgiveness. You won't want to go to Hawaii. And just so, in the gift of forgiving someone else, if you don't want to be close to me in that way, if you don't want to have the gift of forgiveness in your life, well, God can't make you. Can't make you want something you don't want. So, no thanks. I'd rather be angry and estranged. Well, you know, that is a choice many people do make, because what makes forgiveness so impossible for us is the way anger functions in us over time. It latches on, it lands in the heart, and I think it makes like a tumor there. And over time it develops its own blood supply, and pretty soon it can't be removed. It's gotten too deep. It's become a part of you, and you feel as if you die. And you know, there are tumors like that they're inoperable tumors. You can't excise the tumor because you'd kill the patient. And there are such tumors in the physical body. And I think that that anger and the holding of a grudge and lack of forgiveness is a tumor. It's a growth in the spiritual body that you can, maybe when it was small, maybe if right at the time you could have said, okay, yeah, I forgive you, but you didn't. And then it grows, and then there you are, stuck with it and maimed by it, but dependent upon your maiming so that you can't get free. And so when Jesus says you need to forgive all these times, and you think, oh no, what am I going to do? Well, I think what he is saying, you know, yeah, I'm giving you an impossible task, but you are not without help. The impossibility of this task for you should tell you that it is not a task. It's a gift that I want to give you. You don't have to do this impossible task all by yourself. I am going to do it in you. So then if we could say, yeah, the anger that I have from this hurt, or the shame that I have from the thing that I did, the tumor that I have has become inoperable. I can't get it out myself. That's true. So, as with all of the things I cannot do myself, I need a power greater than myself to do it. I'm not alone. We are not alone. If we were asked to forgive on our own, yeah, that would be a counsel to despair. But we are not alone. God stands ready to give us this gift. And throughout this time of talking, I want to talk about how God gives us this gift and how we can learn to accept it. Learn even to want it, because, I don't know, I know in myself that when I have become dependent on an anger, when it has become so much a part of me, or shame, that I sort of don't even see it, that it just feels like a part of my own body, I don't even know enough to want to be free of it. I don't know I'm in jail. And so it's impossible for me to ask to be free, because I don't know that I have a problem. So it looks to me then like everybody else has a problem, and because I can't see myself. So I think what we'll be doing today is talking about preparing to receive the gift, learning even to want it, and becoming aware yet again, because we've been told this so many times, but we forget it a lot, that the sins that we have in us, the incapacities we have in us, the lack of ability to forgive, does not make God not love us. It makes God want to help us. And we have help. You know, when you talk to an alcoholic who is in recovery, he will tell you that he was drinking forever, and he might have lost a career and a family and his health and his job and everything else. And as long as he thought that he needed to stop drinking on his own, he couldn't, because he couldn't. He had this growth, this tumor, a demon. The 19th century called alcoholism the demon rum, didn't they? And it's because it functioned like a demon. It was stronger than he was. Well, you know, the demons are stronger than the people in the New Testament. And Jesus is stronger than the demons always. So, yeah, they're stronger than we are. Sure, you know, we're human beings. But he is stronger. So the lack of forgiveness that we experience is, like all of our deficits, really an opportunity for us to come closer to God in asking for help. And that, it makes us better than we were. And that's paradoxical. You mean this thing that I had, this sin of mine that I couldn't forgive or wouldn't forgive, or that I could not get free from my own shame, that bad thing was a means of grace? Well, yeah. All of the terrible things in life, they're terrible, are a means of grace. Some alcoholics that I've met have said to me, you know, I'm glad that I'm an alcoholic, because I would not know what I know now if I had not had the experience of recovery. So, and some of them who have said this have been people who lost a lot. Others have said, no, I'm not. I wish I were not. It was terrible. And, you know, yes, it was terrible. But had it not been for that, you would not know what you now know. So I think the bad things in life are still bad. But God uses every bad thing to bring some good. God doesn't undo the bad. It has happened. It's part of history. And some things that we have lost, we cannot get back. But we're still here. And we still have a life, and we still have choices. And whatever has happened in our past, we still have today, and we still have the future. And it belongs to me. My future belongs to me and to God. I can't really do much about what happened in the past, but I have a lot to say about who I'm going to be now and who I'm going to walk with. I think it's hard for us to choose life sometimes, because you're just so used to death. But we can still, and we have help. We don't have to do it all alone.
Barbara, thank you. And I just think you've given us a lot to work with in that time.
Oh, and there's so much more.
Well, you do have 4 more sessions. And folks, in no particular order, I just invite you to come into the conversation at a place that that glimmered for you in Barbara's presentation. Who would like to begin?
I would like to begin. Thank you. I was struck by the fact that you brought to light the power of choice. We all have the power to choose life And in that case, we also have the power to choose the gift of forgiveness for ourselves and for others. I believe that each day is a new life to someone who's wise. Each day we can choose to forgive, make forgiveness a way of life and not a one-time event.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have the power to choose. And what I'm going to be saying as we move along is that sometimes our power to choose is impaired, and we don't realize we have the power we have. We think we have to feel the way we feel because we've always felt that way. Well, no, you don't. There's a lot of things you can do besides what you've always done. So I think one of the things that Jesus offers us is options. He often flies in the face of what everybody thinks is true, you know, and encourages people to question what the commonly received wisdom, and that's what making a choice is. And I think that it's so hard for us to know that we can choose. You know, I'm thinking of, I can't remember who told me this story, but it's a sort of a psychiatrist story, I think, a therapist story. It's a guy, he's sitting on a stove, and it's hot. So so he says, you know, I'm on this stove and it's really hot. I need to get cool. And somebody says, well, you could get off the stove. Well, no, I mean, what I need is, could I get like ice and put it down here so it wouldn't be so hot? Well, you could get off the stove. Well, could you adjust the temperature of it so that it wouldn't be so, well, you could get off the stove. Sometimes we just don't know we can get off the stove. You can just be somewhere else. You can just do something else. And we carry things around and burden ourselves with them because we don't really know we can put them down. And Jesus says, come unto me, ye that travail and are heavy laden, and I will refresh you. Go ahead, give it to me. Put it down. Well, I can't, they're mine. Well, yeah, I know, put it down. Oh, no, I can't, these are mine. Yeah, they're yours, put them down.
I guess, Barbara, you know, to that, I guess I have a question in my mind, which is why sometimes we have this sense that we deserve to be punished. Because I think it can come from that you feel like you deserve to sit on that stove. Where would you say that comes from?
You know, I think it's when they were trying to make us civilized when we were little. They told us that if you are good, good things will happen to you, and if you are bad, bad things will happen to you. And so then when bad things happen, you think you caused it from that teaching when you were little. And it's, you know, nobody over 5 really believes it in their intellects, but I think in our hearts that message sticks. So they were trying to make us behave. And the scheme of reward and punishment was something that worked. And but I'm not sure it works as well in adulthood, and it makes us cling to the idea that we deserve not to be forgiven. And it works the other way too, that the person who has offended us deserves not to be forgiven, does not deserve our forgiveness. But again, I don't think that anybody deserves forgiveness. It's a gift. But we're so into, do you deserve it or don't you? Did you earn it or not? Or are you going to get the reward or not? And I suspect that is really not the way God works. But I think we think it is. But I think we're mistaken, and it's a thing we need to grow out of. But it's because we were taught it at a very young age by people we love and respect, who were just trying to help us not be horrible and misbehave and make life crazy for everybody. We absorb that lesson and maybe too well and can't now allow it to grow and change in us as adults. Do we buy the notion that we can be perfect? I think we buy, the notion that we ought to be and take ourselves to task because we're not. And we think that if we ever acknowledge the capacity for imperfection, that we'll just goof off and become lazy and won't even try. But there are reasons to struggle for goodness besides getting an A in it. There are a lot of good reasons. Love provides a reason that the competition of perfection never gives you.
I wanted to, Barbara, bring up what for me seems a deep conflict, really, that bears on here, which is the opposing value to forgiveness of justice. I think that my desire for justice, my desire to see, the right done either by me or by somebody else, is a strong demand, and I think one that even God understands. And I don't. It's hard for me to imagine forgiveness that doesn't involve the sacrifice of justice, and I think that's one of the things that makes it so hard. I don't want to let go of my demand for justice, and I sort of, but I understand if I make that an absolute, then life doesn't go on, life doesn't work. But it's not easy to let go if I feel like there's some injustice done to me.
Or to someone else.
To someone else, and maybe we see that in somewhere like Syria, or the that we say, oh well, no one can let go of the demand for justice, and so there's no possibility. So I wonder, how do you address that conflict? Does that make it more complicated?
It certainly does, and it's probably it's maybe our biggest stumbling block. It feels to us, if we talk about forgiveness, and we'll say more about this, if we talk about forgiveness, it sounds to us as if we're just saying, well, then you don't have to pay for your consequences. Justice doesn't have to be done. We'll just, it's okay. But I want to say that forgiveness has nothing to do with acquittal. Forgiveness is not exoneration. Forgiveness presupposes sin. You don't have sin if you don't have guilt, right? I mean, you don't have forgiveness if nobody sinned. Why would you? We wouldn't be talking about forgiveness if we were not talking about the guilty. It's for the guilty. So, well, if I forgive him, then he's just going to go free. No, I don't think so. I'm thinking about a guy who is now dead, but he was a chaplain for many years in a forensic hospital upstate. What they used to call them hospitals for the criminally insane. Now they call them forensic hospitals. And people are remanded to these hospitals. They've number one, have broken the law, and number two, they are mentally ill. And but you don't go to these places because you ran a stop sign. You go because you were a violent criminal. So they raped someone, or they assaulted people, or they killed people. They are dangerous people. So that's why they're incarcerated in this hospital. If you and I want to sign ourselves out of a hospital, we can do that against medical advice. They can't do that. It's part of their sentence. So he was with these guys for many years. This was all men. And he was with them for years and years. And one of the things that he developed over his time there was a thing that he called the forgiveness clinic. And he could take 12 guys over a period of 2 weeks, and they would meet every morning. And they did a lot of things. They studied scripture for stories about forgiveness, like the prodigal son, like Jacob and Esau. So many stories in scripture about forgiveness. They talked in their sessions about the times that they had been forgiven, which for a lot of them weren't many, and the times that they had extended forgiveness, which probably were even fewer for most of them. They made a searching moral inventory. They made a sacramental confession with the chaplain, who was a priest. And so they did a lot of things around forgiveness over those 2 weeks in the mornings, 12 guys. And at the end, they had a kind of a graduation and received a certificate that said God had forgiven all their sins. Now, remember that these people weren't thinking straight. They were mentally ill, and so it was important to let them know that although God had forgiven their sins, the state of New York was not finished with them yet, and they were not now free to go. They had to continue paying their debt to society. There are many cases in which society cannot afford to let things go on as they are. Society cannot let things go. But that's different from saying that we do not forgive. Yes, I forgive you, and you still have to be off the street because we are not safe if you are on the street. And so I make a division between God's capacity to forgive and our capacity to forgive as a gift from God, and the workings of justice that must play out. Society has a duty to make justice as present in its midst as it can be. And that we forgive does not absolve us of that duty. It's part of life together. So we often think when you say I forgive you, I'm saying that's okay. No. Okay has nothing to do with forgiveness. You don't forgive things that are okay. You don't have to. They're okay. But forgiveness is, what it does is admit the person you are forgiving, or maybe you, back into the human race. But maybe as a member of the human race, you may still have a debt to pay. And we all pretty much have to pay our own debts. We pretty much have to pay for what we take in the world.
I have a question, if I might. I just found that when things turned around for me, I knew that God would forgive me. I knew this. What I found was the hardest thing to do was to forgive myself.
Yeah.
And for a long
the
time.
universal perpetrator, the
Yeah,
self.
yeah. I eventually, you know, as time goes on, you can let it go. But everybody forgave me.
Right.
You know. But
So you were the last man standing on the forgiveness chain.
Yeah,
Everybody
yeah.
was okay with you, but you.
Yeah. Yeah. Took a long time. You know, and but once you do it, and you can forgive yourself, you can forgive all the things that you did or that have been done to you. It's like dropping this big weight.
Well, it frees up a lot of space here that you can use for something else.
I think about it often, about forgiveness and anger and actually that tumor that you talk about. And what gets me is knowing intellectually that it's forgiveness will free you up. Forgiveness will let you see and experience the world and God better. Challenge is knowing that and working on that.
And doing that. And allowing that.
And allowing that to happen.
We want the prison we're in. You know this experiment about the rat? It's a depression experiment. He's in a cage. And what is it? He's in a cage, and he's in the cage, and he's in the cage, and he's in the cage, and then they leave the door open, but he stays in the cage because he's in the cage. And I think that we just are accustomed to what we're accustomed to, and the devil you know is better than the angel you don't know, and so you stay in it. I think you're not alone in that. I think that that's kind of what we do. A body at rest tends to remain at rest, and if we just kind of want to stay doing what we're doing, even if it's unpleasant, and that's weird, but I think that is the way we are.
Well, do you think there's an implication here that, and maybe what we're leading to, is that the grace of forgiveness is what ultimately will give us the ability to fight for justice? That there's a connection, that forgiven, we can fight for justice.
The biblical concept of the good is different from the classical concept of justice. Our figure for justice is a lady with a blindfold holding a scale, like a postal scale, and it's the scale that you balance with weights. You've ever played with those. You know that they're precarious. You balance them just so, or you get on one of those at the doctor's and you finally get it balanced, but it sort of trembles. Justice is precarious. It's the good versus the bad, and which one's going to win, which one's going to be heavier. That's the classical emblem of justice, and it's on, it's in all of our legal stationaries that we have. That's a classical image. It's not a biblical image. It's from Greco-Roman culture. It's not from Hebrew culture. They rather equate justice with righteousness as a positive action of God, not a mutual restraint of evil, but a positive action of a righteous God, a God who fights for you, a God who is on the side of the people. Now, yes, the Bible is written by people who were pretty convinced that God was always on their side. That's another story. But that God is on the side of the people, that God is actively seeking righteousness, is different from a blindfolded lady who's holding a thing that goes like this. The mutual restraint of evil is a minimal standard for justice in biblical terms. And the more active, energetic pursuit of righteousness is, I think, the more biblical understanding of it. And for us, then, when we take a look at forgiveness, it can kind of set us free from the Deuteronomic, to use a nice long word that means, what you did, you're going to get back. You're going to get punished for what you did. That's sort of, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. That's what justice is. Jesus actually says that, no, actually that is not what the divine justice is. The righteousness of God pierces that and pushes beyond it. If all we do is, I'm not going to hurt you any more than you hurt me, well, it is a balance, but is it necessarily a loving thing? I'd just as soon hurt you, but I won't, because then I destroy the balance. Isn't a particularly moral approach to justice. Rather, the energetic pursuit of the good, the loving conviction that the good of the other is as good as my good, and that I should be, the good of the other is as good as my good, and that I should be passionate in the pursuit of it. There's a passion in our approach to justice that I think is missing in what we have received from the classical world about what is legal. We're perhaps confused what is just with what is legal.
I'm going to break in there and bring this session to a close, this conversation to a close. There's so many places that we could still go. Thank heavens we still have 4 sessions. So folks, I'm imagining that your conversation will be stimulated by Barbara's teaching and the spontaneity of conversation that emerges from that. And so over to you. You have time now to grow this conversation further, to use the study materials as you will. So blessings as you continue with the conversation that has begun here. Over to you.